Um, Good morning, everyone. Please let me know if you can see my screen with the presentation of getting started with Adobe Experience platform being
Yeah,
showing up. Okay,
yeah, we can see that.
and yeah, perfect. Thank you. And Rakesh, I think you asked this question is as part of the demo and what will be covered within the Adobe Experience platform, whether uh, AJO, which is the Adobe Journey Optimizer, and CGA, which is
No,
Customer
CDP,
Journey and CDP.
yeah,
Okay,
CDP, yeah, the customer data platform where the profiling happens, right? Yeah.
correct. Okay, my bad. So customer data platform. Well, the answer to that question is Journey uh, Optimizer. Adobe Journey Optimizer is a separate platform by itself. However, it consumes the data that is
Hmm.
being used as part of the Adobe Experience Platform, which is going to be a layer on top of the Adobe Experience Platform. Okay. Now, however, CDP, which is kind of profiling, which is the main feature of Adobe Experience Platform, that will be covered as part of this, which is the core concepts of CDP, how the Adobe Experience Platform would be consumed within the Adobe Experience
Hmm.
Platform. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it will be covered, and you'll go as we cover through the slides, you'll get to know more about that. So in short, Adobe Experience Platform is the customer data platform where every data is going to be stored, in addition to
Mhm.
other um, features and services that it can provide. In addition to that, so yeah, does that answer
Okay,
your
so
question?
CDP,
Yeah.
yeah, so what I heard is CDP is covered, but you may touch the Azure part a little bit, but not deep dive into that. Is
Yeah,
that fair
it's
statement?
a yeah, it's a fair statement because Adobe Journey Optimizer is creating journeys
Separate. Hmm.
which does not have the Adobe Experience Platform does not have those features baked in. It's a separate tool by itself.
I
So
know.
it'll be another
Yeah, yeah.
session. So yeah,
Okay, okay. All right. Thank you.
yeah, no worries. All right. Just to recap, our yesterday's session was more on the features of the Adobe Experience Platform, and then we talked about the benefits related to the Adobe Experience Platform, and then we were diving into the Adobe use cases. However, we had questions to be addressed, so we jumped on a lot of questions. So um, as a recap, we just had a very brief overview of Adobe Experience Platform, how the data is going to be exchanged from the websites, like any a digital property like a Luma or fictitious website, how the data is going to be exchanged. We saw the data that was produced by this Adobe, this particular site, and how the data was getting collected using one of the sniffing tools, that is the Omnipug. Um, we saw how the data is collected by Adobe Experience Platform, and then uh, we were going to jump into the use cases. So let's just dive into the use cases, and then we can go from there. In the meantime, are there any questions that others might have before I jump into the use cases? Okay, sounds good. So just covering a brief use cases of Adobe Experience Platform. One is the real-time customer data platform. Um, Typical enterprises or marketers face common challenges related to customer data, such as data fragmented, inconsistent experiences, and complicated governance. So in real time, CDP simplifies the management of unknown and known profile data in one place for marketers to understand and connect with valuable customers. For example, build a complete view of the customer to overcome the data silos that make data accessible. So all as one of the features, if you recollect, Adobe Experience Platform centralizes all the data coming from different sources. Um, and then it stores in a way that it would be able to activate those data points into your marketing initiatives. And then the second instance or an example for real-time CDP example would be deliver instant personalization that drives marketing performance with relative message across different channels and devices. So that's one of the other benefits that you can get out of the experience platform. The next would be um, oh, sorry, is the customer journey intelligence. So here, customer journey intelligence leverages the data that is baked into the platform schemas or the data sets. It drives the data methodologies, best practices, and business use cases to enable real-time decisioning. What it simply means is that the systems and the features that are so baked in into the platform that it can be easily accessed. First of all, it's going to be a real time, meaning as the data as the user browse to the sites, their information is collected. Again, this involves a data engineer or a web developer coding the uh, uh, JavaScripts within Adobe Launch to extract the information and kind of read the data, whether it is through a mobile app or a website. And then um, that data is going to be consumed within the Adobe Experience Platform. For example, let's say the data and the customer journey to either make a decision or a transaction or make a purchase. Okay, all these informations can then be tied in the results to a customer profile for further activations. For example, helps stitching the data coming from different uh, disparate um, disparate sources. For example, the customer information is available in the CRM. The user browses the website, adds a product to the cart, and then makes a purchase and converts that real-time information as the customer is browsing through, and the CRM data identifying his demographic information, and then relate that information to a loyalty platform if that loyalty platform exists within the enterprise ecosystem. When you get those three sources together, it'll be able to relate and identify, oh, this particular customer has royalty and has made um, um, a batch, for example, a golden batch or a platinum batch. And then based upon their profile, you can create segmentations, and then you can target those kind of customers through personalized offers to them. So that's one neat, cool feature about the AEP. The other is to understand the patterns, how they are coming through using the query services, which is another feature which is as part of the platform here. So query service is also built in so that you can extract the data that are stored. Now, this might be little theoretical and maybe just kind of, touching from a theoretical basis, but as we dive into the platform and understand the um, how the data comes in, how the data can be accessed, how the data can be segmented, how the data can be then activated for your downstream marketing or personalization, things will get much clearer. But I'm as this is like first second session, I just wanted to cover the concepts, the theory, and the use cases. So bear with us. Probably once we cover these slides, we'll uh, dive into the platform as in when we cover some theory part of the Adobe Experience Platform. Then second is the delivery and cross channel experience. Now what it means is that it gives the ability to deliver consistent cross channel and personalized experience across all channels with a combination of um, pla- um, other products within the ecosystem. Like for example, Adobe Target. You have customer journey optimizer. You have customer journey analytics, which is used for reporting. um, Customer journey optimizer is used for event driven targeting. Like if customer makes a certain actions, then you will be targeting that customer in real time. So those kind of um, seamless integrations of AEP with the other products makes it capable for delivering and cross channel activations. Now, for example, let's say a marketer can build an experience uh, that are consistent and independent of the channel being used, and then these, like for example, the Adobe campaign journey enables you to set a trigger on a journey when there are changes in the profile. Meaning, let's say when a customer purchases or completes a transaction more than $1,000, or like then what you want to do is update the profile of the customer um, um, from silver batch to a gold batch. So what you can do is the moment anytime the customer makes such a purchase, you can go in the system or create the journey in such a way that journey as the user gets qualified, you will create a journey basically where the transaction data uh, will be cap will be listening to we will be listening to, such that anytime there is a transaction more than $1,000, you'll have that customer um, upgrade to from um, silver to a golden batch. So that way, those capabilities are baked in, which means in real time you're updating the profile of the customer. So that's the um, the capabilities of the Adobe Experience Platform. Okay, so these are kind of very high level use cases that I'm trying to explain. um, I'll take a pause here to see if there are any questions in regards to the use cases.
Okay. Hey, this is Narendra Prasad. I have a quick question,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah, please.
regarding this last part of it, right? So
Hmm.
when you say like, this AEP is going to
Hmm.
upgrade, I think there is some background noise. I don't know.
Yeah, one second. I'm
Can
trying to
everybody
look
else
at.
go on mute?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay.
I've Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I've got the other person muted. You can go ahead. Was it Nare? I'm sorry, I forgot who was speaking. My
yeah,
apologies.
it's Narendra.
Narendra.
Naren. Yeah,
Okay.
anything is
Yeah,
fine. Yeah.
go ahead.
So the question is like, let's say, um, sorry. So just the last point you mentioned, right? When you say Adobe Experience Platform, this AEP platform is trying to
Hmm.
upgrade the customer, what to call like, customers qualification to that point, right? Like from gold to
Correct.
silver, silver to whatever it is, right? So
Uh-huh.
AEP is just like a virtual thing, right? Because AEP cannot like, uh, like it's more of like, what to call, it's more of like, a client's database based on their like, purchase history or whatever it is, right? It's their responsibility to do the actual upgrade, right? From this tool, so on, so actually. But from AEP, all we are talking about is, so this person made like has a history of purchasing $1,000 of so on, so he can spend up to this much of an amount. So like, in the future, probably I can give him some kind of a push notifications on the mobile with the new products having a price range of starting from, let's say, $900 or whatever. That's what you are talking about, right? Not literally like, like, having his status change from like, what to call, from gold to platinum or whatever. Correct? Or you are really saying?
Yes.
Okay.
So that was a hypothetical example that customer, like the marketers, have decided to upgrade the batch of the profile from silver to gold, right? So let's say
Right.
the project is to talk about the project is about upgrading profiles based upon the qualifications. It's a decision made by the marketing team based on
Right.
a royalty use case. Okay.
Right.
um, Only when that project comes into play and all the requirements are gathered and all that, right? The um, the profile of the customer is going to be updated within Adobe Experience Platform and not in the backend system. Does that make sense? So it's like a data that has been brought into the Adobe system, and then we are updating it. Not that we are going to do it in the actual system as of now. Probably there
Okay.
could be a case where you can collect that information and update your uh, your CRM system or your loyalty program system. But
Right.
what happens is uh, the, there is schemas or data that is stored within the AEP platform, and
AP. Uh-huh.
yes, Adobe Experience Platform, and then we are going and updating in the Adobe Experience Platform and not directly updating the actual source system. Does that make sense?
Right.
So
Yeah. So
it,
okay. Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
yeah, so it was a hypothetical use case, and I'm just trying to explain how in real time things can be uh, updated within the Adobe Experience Platform. Does that?
Understood. Yeah. It's like a more or less another use case, like based on what
Yes.
kind of a data you want to drive the personalization. Yeah. Understand. Okay.
Correct. So it's more like this, like this is again, this is I know I don't have a real example, but I'm just showing you as a image. So like I'm let me try and zoom in, okay, and try and explain this. I don't know whether it's
It's okay. I
uh,
can view it.
you can view it, right? Perfect. Okay. Yeah. So here, um, this is an example where this is, by the way, this is Journey Optimizer or Adobe Journey AJO. Okay.
Yeah.
Here you're trying to read that customer. You will have a conditional statement. This is like a canvas where you are defining a journey. Okay. You read the customer. Depending on the qualification and conditional statements, you're going to either send him an email, which was one of your examples, right? And then you, upon the click of that email, he'll be navigated to um, a particular email. Okay, and then if that gets contributed, that journey gets completed. So it's more of like this. Here in this case, you can update this particular um, condition or to to ref, to up, to update the profile. You see this on the left side, actions. You can do
Yeah.
it in real time and update the profile as well. So that is possible too.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
So
all
here
this
it's
data
the
still resides on the AEP, right? It's not
correct,
really like
correct.
onto the
N-
client
n-
backend system. Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
no, it's not on the backend system. But
Yeah.
again, you can sync the data. That is also a capability. So it all
Okay.
depends upon the project and how the things are going to be implemented
Yeah.
when it comes to actual projects.
Understand. Yeah. It can go hand in hand, or it could be like,
Correct,
still we can do the updates like based on the
correct,
marketing team's inputs on the AEP side itself. Understood. Okay.
correct. Yeah. So I gave a more hypothetical case, which is very unrealistic, but I was just trying to explain the feature about it. But yeah,
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 makes sense.
yeah. Now, how do I? Okay. Okay. Any other questions?
I have a question. So, what's the difference between the launch and data collection?
Great question. So, Adobe, by the way, keeps on changing their names. Data
Okay,
collection previously was referred to as Adobe Launch. Okay.
got it,
They
got
had
it.
recently changed the name to data collection. That's all it is. It's
Okay,
nothing but a tag management system which has a seamless connection with Adobe Experience Platform and many other products that are there in the ecosystem.
okay.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
of course, no worries. That's confusing many a times, and so yes. So yeah. So it's right here. Anyways, any other question? And we'll also cover this. I think that was one of the other requests that we got in our first demo. How is the data collected, and how can the data, um, the Adobe launch or data collection can be configured to send data. So we'll try and cover that as well as much as possible. Okay. Any other questions before I move to the next slide? Okay, sounds good. All right. So this is the ecosystem that Adobe has, and the ecosystem is referenced as Adobe Experience Cloud. So it has a lot of products baked in. Okay, for analysts or data architects or marketers, the most important products that are leveraged is the Adobe Analytics. Adobe, as you are very familiar, is Adobe Analytics, which if you can reference to EVAs and props, that's how Adobe Analytics was previously um, acquired from Omniture, which was called as Site Analytics. Then you have the other systems called Adobe Target, which is used for personalization. Adobe Campaign is for targeting customers again with offers and campaigns. Then you have Marketo, which also has a very similar features, which was again acquired by Adobe. Adobe Manager, Adobe Audience Manager, which is used for personalization and activation, which is kind of the features that has been baked into the real-time CDP. Okay. Then Adobe Commerce is nothing but the Magento features of Adobe. Okay. Then you have Adobe Journey Optimizer, which is to utilize create journeys for targeting specific customers or a group of customers. Again, it's all event driven. So that's how the Adobe Journey Optimizer is being used. Adobe Real-Time CDP is the real-time identification of the customers as from anonymous to known customers, how the data is going to be exchanged, how the profile is being created, how the data is going to be surfaced into the edge networks for for other products to be consumed for again targeting and personalization as well. Adobe Workfront, I mean, I've not worked on it, but it's more of again your CRM sort of capabilities. Uh, then talking about the platform itself. Okay, all these products they are built in such a way that they can seamlessly integrate with Adobe Experience Platform. All the data that they are consumed. Sorry, was there a question? Okay. Um, all the data that is being collected in the Adobe Experience Platform can be seamlessly accessed. One second, I think I need to mute. Okay. Okay. So sorry for that. Um, as the data comes into the Adobe Experience Platform, the data integration is seamlessly accessible by other products within the ecosystem for, again, for several purposes: targeting, personalization, of giving them one-to-one offers or cross-channel marketing, and so on and so forth. What is highlighted in the gray area within each of these box are some of the features that Adobe Experience Platform has. Okay, identity is about identifying customers, creating profiles based upon the incoming identities, how they are linked. Then you have segmentation, which is kind of grouping customers based upon their cohorts. Um, Ingestion, there are two types again. Basically, one is batch ingestion and one is streaming. Streaming refers to any interactive actions that are collected by the customers. So for example, this is a page view, which is going to be capturing information related to page views. If there is a click, then those will be events that will be capturing the event-based actions that customers, and so on and so forth. Okay, so those are divided into two parts: batch and streaming. Okay. Now, collection is again refers to the data, how they are brought in within the system. As we go into the platform, you will be more clear with what it is. Um, Query is like the query services feature, which you can query the data that is being collected. It stores in a data set, which one of the very neat features is that you do not have to be worried about the number of dimension that it can store. It's like a nested JSON object, or so-called as a document, which is kind of um, the term that is being used in the big data. So if you have used that. So that is how the data is going to be collected. Unlike the way we had limitations on Adobe Analytics, where you had limitations of the EVARs and the props, depending upon what sort of licenses you have brought in, whether it's premium license versus standard license. Again, you would had 255 EVARs and then 70 props if you're a premium version, and so on and so forth. Here, that limitation is not there at all. As you want, you can expand your data that is being collected. Again, we'll go there shortly. Then the second piece is the AI and ML. Again, this is nothing but the Jupyter notebook that is being connected within the platform itself. Okay, it can run any of the pre-baked in um, um, models or recipes that the customers have on a certain data. You just have to modify those based upon the data that is being residing within the system and run those models. And post the models are being executed, you would get the recipe out of it, and that data can be again ingested into a data set, which later can be consumed for real-time marketing. So this is kind of something, a new neat feature that has been available. Privacy and governance, it only means that any data that you want to protect, whether it's PI information, and you want to flag them and do not want to be utilized for any targeting products like social media and so on and so forth, you can have control over the data. If the data has been flagged, then you cannot be used for any marketing purposes, which is a good segue into the destination part, which is nothing but the other activation products that are linked within the platform. For example, Adobe Target, Campaign, Journey Optimizer, or even Marketo, and any other third-party vendors as well, for like D360 and Google marketing platforms, or any other marketing platforms that Adobe can connect with. And there are a lot of marketing platforms that are integrated within the platform itself. Again, we'll cover that as in we get into the UI. These are some of the products that are available. So as you can see here, I just wanted to give a quick view of that. Um, that being said, any questions so far? Should I move into the next big?
Hey, hi, Prasad. This is Bharat. I
Yeah,
just had one question. So,
yeah, please.
what is the driving factor that we should ask client to move to Adobe Experience Platform, right? Like because as you see, we have several applications, and these applications can work independent to AEP, right? Or is there any dependency of these applications that can work with AEP alone?
So that's a excellent question. So it all depends upon what is the next best action for the customer, right? For example, let's say the customer, I'm going to be taking a hypothetical company here, say Luma, right? So say Luma did not have Adobe Experience Platform. They are just using um, Adobe Analytics, Adobe Target, Audience Manager. Okay, that's their ecosystem, which is driven by the Adobe Target, Adobe Launch, the tag management solution. Okay, the use case here is basically trying to understand customer journey, okay, of customers, where you have Adobe Analytics driving most of the data collection. Then Adobe Target is used for personalization, and Audience Manager is used for their targeting.
కొద్ది ముందరి వాళ్ళు చెప్తా
Hello.
ఇది పెట్టేసి
Okay. So the objective is, okay, we want to have these products that are being utilized by this fictitious uh, company is not getting the real-time experience that they have. Okay. Plus, there is the heavy load on the site, which is trying to say we have 4 products that we have to install, and which is causing a lot of impact, right? So these are 2 things that are concerning for the customers. The first one is going to be much one of the features that Adobe Experience Platform, or the Web SDK it is called as, it what it does, it consolidates everything into one library, which is called as the alloy.js library. That means previously where they had multiple files to be installed, you will have one file. Okay. So that way the size of the and the load of the site would reduce, and the performance of the page would be definitely be improved. Okay. Because you'll be collecting only one beacon, okay, which is this. And once that data is collected, which is going to be here, I'll show you in this. Um, the data is going to be then collected by the edge network, okay, and that data will be distributed among different applications, okay, and then you can uh, definitely have the same functionalities that you used to have using 4 products into a single product, okay. So that's one. The second feature is real-time personalization, which would take few minutes. Now it's going to be real near time, meaning within like um, less than a minute. There is like a 50-second or 30-second, depending on the production. You'll get immediate actions on the website. Plus, the limitations of the existing products to connect with the other marketing platforms, those have been improved. So that being said, so I would say it all depends upon what is driving the customer to move to the Adobe Experience Platform. And of course, these key features that the client has to be evaluated. And obviously it's a very expensive platform. So those also can be evaluated depending on making the decision whether they want to move from this the 4 product system into a single product system. That's all I could say right now.
So
Does that?
basically, yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for that. So basically, what I heard is like real-time personalization if they want to achieve, like this
Yes.
would be the platform where they can improvise. Okay.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. And the other feature is the identity service. Adobe and other products, they do not have identity services unless you build the system, right? And they don't have one centralized data system that they need to kind of do a lot of engineering to build a single centralized data platform. And to create that, it would take a lot of time. Here, Adobe Experience that platform will do it for you. You just bring the data from your different sources. We will do it for you. That's kind of the value proposition that Adobe Experience also adds on top of the other um, examples that I mentioned earlier.
Got it. And one
Yeah.
last question, is real-time
Yeah, go ahead.
security part of
Uh-huh.
AEP, or we can have that
Yes.
as a different application?
No, it is part of the AEP itself. Yeah, so it is part of the AEP system itself.
Okay.
What you can see here in this diagram, this is much clear. And I'll go through an example from the top all the way how the data is going to be shown in this application overview. Real-time CDP is this section. As you can see this, I'm not sure if you are able to see the
Yeah.
right here. So
Yeah.
that's nothing but this.
Yeah. So
It,
it's
it
not like
just,
a separate application, but it's part of
yeah,
AEP.
correct, exactly. However, it's been shown as a separate, but it is part of the same system because this system is then leveraged by other systems like, Journey Optimizer, your Adobe Target, Adobe Campaign, uh, mm, Adobe Analytics, Journey, Customer Journey Analytics, and so on and so forth. It's all that. So real-time data will be stored here. It's like within seconds, you will get the data. The moment I do a page view, the data would be stored here. Uh, they will run services, which is Apache services, which will be listening for any events. Depends upon, for example, the customer comes in who is anonymous, but then logs in. Within 2 page views or 3 page views, the profile is created here itself. Meaning, oh, this customer who was not identifying was doing a browsing and then added the product and then signed in because the system forces to sign that customer. And within seconds, it will create that, oh, this anonymous customer is the same customer who logged in. Again, we'll cover that in the core concept here, but I just wanted to give that as a
Got it. Yeah, thanks.
uh, as an a brief introduction to that as well. So
Yeah. And can we
go
have
ahead.
like a complete journey walkthrough, like through launch, how we are going to set up and what are the features that we are going to use in AEP, like data ingestion and customer profile? Not now, like maybe in the future sessions. Are you
Yeah,
able
I
to?
can. Yeah, I can. I'll be going through how the data will be collected. Again, this is all like a very system that I have to bake into, meaning I have to construct. I can show how the data will be constructed. I'll show how the data is going to flow through launch and all that. Yes, I'll show that. I'll see how I can give you a demo. But yeah, in future sessions, we'll cover that piece. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm giving a long answer because I'm still preparing, waiting for the access to the platform and setting up. It would take a little bit of time, and trying to cover that in this session is what I'm trying to think of. How we want to, cover all of this.
No
But
worries.
I'll
Yeah,
do my best. Yeah.
Yeah, as we go through AEP, like there are a lot of features and a lot of applications.
Correct.
Just wanted
Right.
to understand the differences and what comes with AEP also, right? Like it depends on the use cases. Like there are a lot of features that it can provide, but again, it depends on the use cases, like whether a client is looking for only the data ingestion from different platforms to
Correct.
streamline the data, or he wanted to create a real-time profiles which can be used in other applications,
Correct.
or he just want to enforce the data governance in place, or it depends on
Correct.
the use cases what they have, and then use those features with the AEP, right?
Correct. Correct. So there are uh, 3 or 4 profiles you can create out of this particular product itself. Like one being a marketer. I think I mentioned this in my demo session, but I'll just uh, repeat it again, maybe probably. The marketer's job is going to be, how the data can be consumed by the marketing products like Adobe Target, DV360, and so on and so forth. Then one is the data engineer, like who does data engineering from Adobe Launch? How do we scrape the data through the tag management solution, whether you use Adobe Launch, Telium, Google Tag Manager, name any tag manager, excuse me, Adobe can, AEP can collect that information. The data engineer should be smart enough to collect that and send it to AEP. Through, and then you have mobile applications where the implementation is slightly different, where the app developers will come into play. So that is data engineer's job, right? Then you have this uh, batch ingestion, which is also part of the data engineer role, how you get the data into the system. Then you have the architecture, how the data is going to flow in, how the other platforms that it can connect to, and so on and so forth. So how the data should be constructed, plus how the profiling should be created, because you need to create that identity of that customer. Otherwise, if you do not enable it, then it becomes a problem. So that's kind of another role there. Then I think, yeah, these are the 3 basic roles, and then governance. It kind of depends upon who is managing and all that. So in a nutshell, you have so many personas that can work on a given platform here. So yes, it's very complex platform.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah, no worries. Any other
Okay,
questions?
one question, Prasad. If you go back to your previous slide, right? This is Narendra,
Uh-huh.
by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Narendra.
So,
Yeah.
like, I understand, like, we are all trying to, like, ingest or, like, put the data into this AEP.
Hmm.
Does AEP provide some sort of, like, APIs where we can expose this data to the other, like, third-party systems? I know here we are all talking about Adobe products, right? But let's say I do have some other product. It could be my, like, Salesforce marketing cloud, or could be my something with my Google products actually, right? So are there
Yes.
any APIs available? Okay.
Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
expose
They
whatever
do.
the data is there available, we can
Yes.
expose them as an API to a third party system. Okay.
Oh, yeah. As I mentioned in this is the Adobe Experience Platform is
Yeah.
designed as the core principle itself is designed as an API. So again, I can show an example of how that would look, but it's just showing how the AEP can be connected by an API. You can have an
Okay.
endpoint or go to a webhook, and then any
Uh,
of the endpoints or products that can understand that webhook or the API or read that data coming from that. Of course, it can provide an export API in short. So
sure.
so
Like,
any of
does
the
it
product.
require? Okay. So does it require to involve Adobe IO as well? So we know this Adobe
Yes,
IO product,
yes,
right?
yes.
Okay.
Adobe
Okay.
IO. Yes, Adobe IO. Yes.
Okay.
It has. So you can create Adobe IO for other systems as well. Like if you want data to be getting into Adobe platform using Adobe IO, you can do that. Something called as Postman, typically
Yeah,
used
sure.
as a product. So yes, you can do that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then the last question I have is on this Sensei actually, right? So, what is the like, I know you talked about AIML, which is good, but again, like Sensei is also kind of like, automation, right? Machine automation, level automation actually, right? I
Uh-huh.
know Sensei is being used up to some extent in like, Adobe Experience Manager and Adobe Commerce. I'm not sure. Maybe if you like going to cover in the upcoming sessions, right? I'm totally fine to ignore this question, but just like out of curiosity. So are we using the Sensei of like what extents or what like what's the use case of Sensei over in the AEP?
So, and Sensei is like a AI feature of
Yeah,
the Adobe's, which sits
right.
on top of many other products. Like Adobe Sensei sits on Adobe, can be leveraged in Adobe Analytics, Audience Manage,
Experience
AEP,
Manager.
AEM,
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
and
yeah.
many others. It's like a pre-baked AI of Adobe knowing what data is going to come in, and then it's going to kick in. Like for example, anomaly detection. That's part of
Okay,
another feature. So it's there's
understand.
no
Okay,
like a way I can show like how query services work.
understand.
Like it's like sort of a baked in feature. It's just going to pop in whenever it needs to pop in based upon the actions
Understand.
that you take. It's not
Got it.
that it's not a service that is available for inputs and so on and so forth.
Understand.
Does that
Okay. Yeah,
answer your question? So it is
yeah, yeah. I
not
mean,
a
that's what it is being used in AEM and the commerce tools
correct,
actually.
correct.
So I just wanted to make sure if they are like,
Uh-huh.
because Sensei is like, their own product, right? Like it's, yeah,
Correct,
they don't
correct.
have any open source for this
Yeah,
stuff.
they
Yeah.
don't
Okay.
show it.
Got it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Got it. Cool. Thank you.
definitely. No worries, no worries. All right. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Let's uh, try and go over the application overview. Quick time check. About we have 10 minutes or so. Um, I don't want to rush through it, but I'll just try and cover as much as I can. And then if there's any leftovers, I'll repeat that from the top and continue into our next session. But here's a very high level overview of the platform itself. Okay, this is how the Adobe Experience Platform ecosystem is going to look like in a diagram. Okay, on the left side is where the data is going to be coming in. As you can see, there are different ways in which data can come in. Okay, two high level categorization of that is streaming data or batch data. Okay, as simple as that. Okay, streaming again refers to uh, interactions or engagements of customers coming from any digital property, whether it's a website, IoT, TV, mobile app, any digital property where you have installed the capabilities of uh, extracting the data based on users engaging on the site. Okay, or the platform, not site. Okay, in general, in any digital platform. No, that's called streaming. Okay, you can also have APIs that you want from any system. So Adobe Experience has the capability to um, read the API, the data coming from an API as well. So that is also refers to as streaming. Okay. Now batch connectors is refers to as um, the CRM or any FTP system that you going to watch on for the data when the data is uploaded into an FTP system. or from a CRM system, or when a CRM is updated, you configure the connectors or the FTP to read on a regular system, and there's something called as workflow, which gives that capability to say or configure. Okay, the workflows feature is that on a regular basis, you constantly read the data coming from this platform, whether it is your um, you know cloud-based stores, which is Azure, your data warehouse, your Adobe applications, which can be Adobe Analytics, Audience Manager, or Adobe Target, and so on and so forth. They are pre-baked in connectors. It can start reading it based upon the way you have configured it. Okay. I hope so far it makes sense. I'll take a minute to see if there are any questions. So this is what, go ahead.
Sorry. So what is the
No,
difference between the streaming data which is connecting to Edge and the streaming data which is directly connecting to data ingestion?
streaming data connecting to data ingestion or streaming data connecting to Edge, right? Oh, okay, okay. So that's a good question there. Okay, so I'll explain that. Edge, Adobe Experience Platform Edge refers to an implementation coming from Adobe Launch. You see this? This is an example, okay, from a Luma site. This is an edge network where the data stream ID is referred to every ID or every data that is collected. It's going to be configured as part of the data stream. Okay, what this means is Adobe Launch um, is collecting the information on behalf of the website. It's going to send it to the Adobe Edge network. It's not going to send it to here, the bottom section. Okay. Here, the data is going to be it's going to be sent to an edge network, and from the edge network, the data goes into the uh, data sets. Does that make sense so far?
Okay.
Okay. So this top line or this top section is where Adobe Launch would come into play. Okay. The bottom section is that there is no Adobe Launch or any tag management solution. It's just showing that the data is coming from your connectors, your um, um, features within Adobe itself. Okay, so here you refer, just going back to the previous slide, this is collection which is going to Adobe launch or data collection. That's what it's called as. And then there is this section called ingestion, which is referring to the section here.
Okay. So the basically the difference
Does
between,
that answer your question? Bharat, yeah.
yeah, am I audible? Sorry.
Hello. Uh-oh.
And
Yeah,
no.
yeah, you're audible now. Yes.
Okay. So basically the difference is like the above part is like the data which is coming from maybe the end user
Hello.
channels.
I think I lost you.
Is it only for me? I don't know.
We can hear Bharat fine. I think there is an issue with Prasad.
Actually, yeah. Prasad, I guess the problem is with your end. Hello. Who is the organizer? Can someone check with Prasad? I think there is a problem at Prasad's end.
Yeah, checking.
Okay, thanks.
So Prashad mission has hung, so he'll log off and join again in 2 minutes.
Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Prasad.
Okay, sorry. I had my system hung on me and I could not move.
Yeah, no worries.
Get, unmuted. I hope it is better now. Is the audio better?
Yep. So I think what I'm trying to say, I don't know, you're able to hear me, but
Yeah, previously I didn't catch you. Yeah, please.
yeah. So probably we can segregate them as online data and offline data, where online data basically is coming from launch, which will ingest the data through edge network, and the offline data, which is more like a data which is coming from applications, not through any of the channel which is accessible by the end users, right?
Yeah, you can qualify them as online and offline. However, there might be other systems that, for example, point of sale, right? Well, again, it is offline, but I don't have a very better example. But as long as the data is not streamed into, um, it's from a relative application perspective, they are being categorized as streaming and batch, or the top layer as coming from launch, as well as the other layer which is within the system itself. So that's how it is being
Yep.
categorized. I don't want to give you a wrong information. I'm just trying to clarify that
as much as possible. So
got it. Yeah, I think I got it. Like the data which is coming through launch basically flows through Edge, and there are
Edge.
pieces that are directly connected through connectors, which flows the data directly or ingest the data into API platform,
Correct.
either
Yes.
through Stream APIs or batch. Got it.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Um, yeah. Um, any other questions?
So this new, web SDKs will be installed in the web applications, right? Like, for example, if the application is already using audience manager or target or analytics now, um, like if we wanted to implement AEP, we need to install the new SDK on the client side.
Yes and no. So it all depends upon how the existing infrastructure is. So as of now, there are two typical projects that take place. One is migration project is what they qualify as. What it means is that the existing system, which is built, is using the legacy or the old way of collecting data, right? Meaning you have extensions for each of the products. For example, Adobe Target, and then you would have the Adobe's launch script, and then that data that is being collected will be sent into the respective platforms. Okay. That is one way, and those did not use the web SDK implementation. Now, that being said, you don't have to migrate, okay, into a web SDK because the data collection would be as is. However, now web SDK, if you migrate, what it gives is a feature that all the data will be then redirected into the edge network, okay, which not going too deep into it, but there are references called as data streams where you configure the data stream and say when the data collected from this would go into that data stream, and then data stream would have your applications where the data, like when the data comes in, send this data to Adobe Analytics, the web SDK. You don't want to do that migration unnecessarily because again, you have to evaluate. The evaluation based upon how much is the load, what's the effort, do we really need it, or are we migrating to AEP? Only when you want to send the data into AEP. Okay, so in that case, those are kind of typical migration projects that take place where the data, when once collected, will get sent into the edge network and then can then forward it into the respective applications. So that is in a nutshell. That's how it works. Did that answer your question? I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
A little bit confusing too for me. I'm sorry, but yeah.
yeah.
It makes
So
sense.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I wish I could show you an example, but is my screen
Yeah, we can see your screen.
yeah. So a typical implementation or non-web SDK implementation will look like something like this. Okay. So what it does is the data is going to go into a tracking server, which is called as this. Okay. And that tracking server will then send it to Adobe Analytics. Web SDK implementation, or the new term, which is so-called as the alloy.js, and I'll talk about it when we actually touch into launch and all that, is you configure the data stream, which then gets identified into the edge network. This is that data stream. You'll go and set that up in the launch. And once that data is going to be received, you will get only one beacon. You see this? This is only one beacon. All the data for that particular beacon is going to be collected in this. In the configuration settings of the Adobe launch, you'll configure, okay, once this data is being received, where do you want to send it? Oh, you want to send it to AEP? We'll do that. If you want to send it to Adobe Analytics, you will send that. So in that, here it's not, so here, see, this is already sending it to Adobe Target. You see this on my, yeah. So this is going to be sending it to Adobe Target. Okay, because this has Target, Adobe Target data. This data, which you see in the bottom, will be sent into Adobe Experience Platform. That's going to go into that data set. If you have enabled Adobe Analytics, you will see evars and props in this XCM object itself. And that data will go into Adobe Analytics. So there are multiple ways in which you can, as of today, there is not like a standard process. It all depends upon the typical implementation you have, and then you take a call. And all that needs to take place is evaluation, discovery of how the data correct infrastructure is and how you want to migrate it. And then you pick the easiest, the best optimal route for the customer to migrate into. I hope
Yeah,
it somewhat clarifies your question.
yeah,
but
it makes sense.
Okay. I think for today we should be good. I'll go into the next piece of it in our next session. But before we wrap up, are there any other questions that I can address? During the demo, there were questions of how do we get data into through Adobe Launch. So the way we are trying to flex it based on the need of or the priority in which the others are looking for it, because you have people who understand Adobe Launch, who have analytics language understanding, and so on and so forth. The agenda is to go over these topics, okay, at a very high level as far as I can, and I'll show a demo of how do we upload data and so on and so forth. Then we'll talk about query services, how we want to do it. And in this, I'm going to squeeze in to show how the Adobe launch implementation can be done, but it all depends on how much we can cover. But I'll make sure I cover them at a very high level at least, yes.